Now to Turkey, where security forces have neutralized 5 terrorists, including one in the most wanted category in the country's eastern region. Among the 5 terrorists was Yilmaz Oner, also known by his code name Semos Malazget, who was in the red category of the Interior Ministry's wanted list. Yilmaz Oner participated in a total of 18 terrorist attacks that claimed the lives of 27 security personnel and 4 civilians. Other terrorists neutralized in the operation were in the orange category of the Interior Ministry's wanted list. And to other stories, as the world marks Refugee Day, the United Nations Refugee Agency says 1 out of every 69 people on Earth is now displaced. That is about 120 million people of the world's population who have been uprooted from their homes. Behind these numbers are countless human stories of families separated, livelihoods lost, and communities shattered. 68 million of those who are internally displaced within their own countries. The rest are refugees in need of protection. For more on the World Refugee Day, Funi Wen, Chief of Field Office, UNICEF, Maiduguri, joins me to talk more on this. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Happy World Refugee Day.
And as you look at the numbers, about 120 million people who are now homeless around the world, 68 million of them even just within their own countries, how significant is it that we celebrate or mark this day?
Yes, it's in many ways it is a huge challenge globally that there are so many people displaced from their homes. But I also would like to recognize the fact, and I think this day helps us to recognize and to appreciate the resilience of the millions of people who are displaced away from their homes, whether they are displaced within their countries or as refugees across states lines. So I think we really need to recognize the fact that they have resilience, and UNICEF, alongside other UN agencies and the government and other partners, are working to make sure that their rights are respected, that their plight is recognized, and the support is provided to them, whether it be food or safety or shelter or water or education and protection. Certainly, we want to make sure that we recognize those needs and we need to fulfill those rights.
And when you also look at the figures, you realize that 68 million of those who have been displaced, displaced within their own countries. We have that situation in Nigeria with the IDPs. Having to deal with them, I mean, this is your area. What are some of the challenges they go through?
Yes, here in the Northeast, the Bay States, as to say Borno, Yobe, and Adamawa, we have nearly 8 million people who are most vulnerable due to the nature of their displacement. So their needs are high. They are away from home. They do not have adequate water. They do not have shelter. Children don't have education, nutrition, health, protection, etc. And so UNICEF have been working very closely with our partners and certainly with the government to make sure that we meet those minimum standards of needs. Unfortunately, they are displaced. Many of them are displaced multiple times, running from one location to another. So those needs are high. 56% of children who are displaced are out of school. And we're working with partners very closely to make sure that those children have the right to go to school and have some semblance of normalcy when they are in displaced locations and settlements and so forth. Water needs are very high. Nutrition, certainly, we are in the lean season at this time, and we are facing a malnutrition crisis right now as we speak. And it's cholera season is coming up. So we've got multiple layers of vulnerabilities that we're trying to support and cater to the needs, the overwhelming needs of displaced persons in the Northeast.
And what is really concerning is that the numbers continue to increase. When you look at the war between Russia and Ukraine, the Israel-Hamas war, you also think of the war in Sudan, even in the Northeast Nigeria, where people are victims of insecurity. What more can be done to ensure the safe return of these persons back to their home?
Yes, that is the ultimate goal, to make sure that people are safely returned to their homes of origin. And so while we are working on making sure that they are resettled in those homes of origin, we need to make sure that security is there. We need to make sure that they have opportunities to livelihood. No one wants to be dependent on the services of others, whether it be food, whether it be shelter, nutrition, education, protection, and so forth. But we want to make sure that we look at how are we going to support them in the longer run, not just the humanitarian aspect in the immediate needs. We would like people to return home, and we need to work closely with the government and also the security apparatus to make sure that people could return home in a safe manner, in a dignified and principled manners, and that basic services are available in those areas for them to return to. And livelihood is certainly very key, because this is making sure that people have a dignified life and not be dependent on needs. But we need to be able to bridge the gaps of the immediate humanitarian needs with that of the longer term. And we're working very closely. UNICEF and other UN agencies and partners are working very, very closely with the government to make sure that there are durable solutions in place. But it does take some time for that to happen. So we need to be able to bridge the immediate needs with the medium and the longer term needs.
Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for all you do. The Chief of Field Office UNICEF, Maiduguri, Funwan.
Thank you.
That's the news this hour.